Okay, so I've made this video to help students to complete assessment task 1 for geography. I'm going to go through this and try and keep it short, and I'm hoping that what you will be able to do with this video is to view it in your own time and use it as a resource. I'm hoping that if you get stuck on the task, you can come back to this video and get some clarification if needed. So here we are on our Lumen 10 Wikispaces page. You can see here we've got assessment task 1. We are in the page that reads coastal management. Okay, you can see it just here. You'll need to scroll down until you see assessment task 1.
Amy Wills, please go to the hall.
Don't you love interruptions? Woo! Right, let's keep moving. Okay, so firstly you've got, here's the actual task here. It's the first file you'll find under the heading, and here is the marking criteria sheet. And I'll just switch over to those pages and we'll have a quick look at those. Okay, so you can see when it's due, depending on which year you're watching this and in which term and so forth, that will change, but you should check the document to be clear on when it's due. Scrolling down the page, you can see here that the first thing we need to do is construct a title page, including focus questions. Okay, now switch back to our Wikispaces page, and underneath the task you'll see we've got a guide to the task, and you should download this document. When you've done that, the document will look like this. Okay, you'll notice that here are the focus questions, and there are 3 of them, and they should appear on your title page. Okay, so make sure that you have these questions there, as well as the other criteria. Okay, your name, teacher's name, and the due date. The due date will be cleared up in class by your teacher, and you should add this into your diary or calendar, whatever you use to keep yourself organised. The second stage is that you've got to draw a hand-drawn map of the location. The hand-drawn map of the location will need to cover an area from Bondi Island down to Tura Beach, and should include it. Make sure that you put all of your bolts criteria onto your hand-drawn map. You should make sure that your map is accurate. You should make sure that your map has all of these bolts criteria, and you should make sure that your map has colour and of course is neat and well presented. If we look at the marking criteria for the task, so we'll just go back here and switch over to the marking criteria page, and you can see that in order to get the marks you've got to have bolts, neat, colour, and ideally you would show your management strategies on the map, so show where they're located. You might need to or want to show it on a separate map that zooms in on the gully found in Dolphin Cove. Note the marks, okay? A lot of marks gained, 4 in fact, by putting your bolts criteria on, so please make sure that you go ahead and do that. Okay, it says your management strategies should be shown on your map. However, you might need to have a second map zoomed in, as I said, to show those. You're going to need a half-page description of the location. You need to include the latitude and longitude of Bondi Island, and you can do this. I'm happy if you put the longitude and the latitude in for Merimbula, but you should simply put that into a Google search and it will come up and it will tell you what the latitude and longitude is for Merimbula, and that needs to be in your half-page description. Distance and direction from 3 major cities. These cities should include Melbourne, Canberra and Sydney. You should give the direction to those cities and you should give the distance. I am not concerned as to whether you give the distance in a straight line or by road, but be clear about which distance you are giving. Tell me if it's a straight line distance or tell me if it's a by the road distance. You'll need to have the vegetation types. Now, go back to our website here, and if we scroll down a bit further, we can see some internet links that I've put on the page. First one is Born to Climate, and when you click on that, it'll take you to a page. Sorry, not that one. Probably because of the school's internet. Maybe it's this one. Okay. Nope, they've changed the page, so those links don't work. I'll have to have a go at either fixing them or putting in something else. Okay, but they look like they take you to all the same page. I'll have to fix that up. Okay, so ignore that part. Let's go back to our web page. So these links, there's something wrong with those, but I'll try and fix those up. Alright. So yes, have some information on the vegetation types that you'll find in the region, particularly those close to the coast, and also some information about our climate. Okay. I would include things like the temperature and the rainfall that would be expected on any given year for our region. And I'll just skip over to the assessment criteria, and you can see that what you need, where the marks are allocated here. So there's a mark for latitude, see here, 1 mark, longitude, distance, direction, veg type, climate, and all in-text references shown. So if you get, for example, information about our vegetation from a website, you should acknowledge that website. If you do that, you'll get marks. If you don't, you'll get 0 marks for that part. Okay, we'll go to our geoprocessors. This is now looking at number 4 here on our assessment sheet. It says here, one of these processes must be dune formation and must include a hand-drawn transect of the dunes. Okay, so we've got some examples here of what we're talking about. In this document here, Guide to the Task, I'll switch across to that now. You remember that we had some focus questions, and down below that, keep looking down, some ideas on your map. So if you've got, when you've got sand on your beaches, for example, make it yellow. Urban areas tend to be red in colour. Forested areas tend to be green. Cliffs or headlands tend to be brown, and roads tend to be black. Okay. Here's your BOLTS criteria, in case you don't know what they stand for or what they mean. Eventually. Okay, so you've got to have 3 hand-drawn diagrams. One must be the sand dune formation. You can see notes below or go to page 219 in the textbook to have a look at the sand dune formation. It says here 2 others could be included, one of the following. Sorry, two others could be included. These are all in the textbook, okay? Except for, I think, littoral currents. They are not, and may be tide. Here's the page numbers, in case you're not sure where they are. The other thing that I've done is that I have scanned those documents and I've placed them on here. So processes from the textbook, if you download that, you'll find all the processes there. That might be it, isn't it? Nope. Okay. Next thing I'll show you is an example of a dune profile. Sorry, I'll just go back to this page here. Okay. Example beach profile. When you download that document, you'll come up with this. Okay. Down here is our dune formation. Now this is taken from the field work that you'll do out at Borna. You'll actually construct one of these. But I would suggest that what you do is redraw it in much better, clearer, good copy and submit it. Okay. Along the bottom here you'll see a scale. This is meters. along the bottom, and the scale in metres up the side. Types of vegetation you'll find as you work your way from the shore, the beach, up the beach, over the primary dune, into the swale, up onto the secondary dune, and so forth. So make note of different types of vegetation you'll get in the dune area. And you'll see here at the top, this is what we call a transect. This shows the change that occurs from the beach all the way to the back of the dunes over here. So if I just get this right, you'll see that from here or here to here or here is called, this zone in here is called the beach zone. Followed by the primary dune zone in here, the swale in the valley of the dune, the secondary dune up here, and of course the hinterland, which is once we get beyond the dunes. Usually this is where the taller trees start to grow. So a transect shows that change over space, okay, as you travel inland. That's called a transect. You will need to draw one of these. Okay, so that's an example of that. The management strategies. We might go back to the task before we get to that. Okay, so this section must use a range of geographical tools, including hand-drawn diagrams and photographs. You must have both. And to show you what I mean by that, we will have a look at the marking criteria. Here it is. Okay. GeoProcess 1, dune formation. Must write a description, must have a photo, must have a diagram. That transect I just showed you will be on there. You'll have connections between text and images. In other words, what you write about refers to your photo or your transect or your diagram. Okay. All images referenced. So if you get a photo and put it into your project and it's from the internet, you must have the URL written under the photo. Okay. You must also label every single photo you put in your project. Okay, so please do that. References provided. Okay, so at the end, reference correctly. If you're not sure how to do that, Google it, look it up. It's the same with your second process. You need a description, photo, diagram. You need to make sure that your text connects to the image or the photo or the diagram. If it's not yours, you need to have a reference. If it's your photo and you've got your photo in there and it's labelled, you'll automatically get that point. And of course any references need to be provided. Same with Geography Process 3. Okay. Remembering that of course those last two are two of these in here. Okay. Let's go to back to our task. Number 5, a list of stakeholders involved. Okay, so include a description of their interests and perspectives. You need a minimum of 5 stakeholders. Stakeholder is a person or a group of people who have an interest in how the environment is going to be used and how it's going to be managed. E.g., a fisherman. A fisherman wants to use Dolphin Cove Beach. They want access to it, they want to be able to fish when they like, and they don't really want to have to be dealing with walking down the beach and stepping in dog poo, or finding the perfect spot for fishing, but instead there's surfers out there. So you need to identify who they are, so name them, okay, for example, fishermen, and then you need to go on to discuss their perspective. How is it they want to see the area used, and what is it that they would want to see in terms of managing the area, and what facilities would they want to see there that would make them happy. Those facilities would be different for fishermen as they are different for surfers, as they are different for tourists. Think about what that area might look like and present an argument from their perspective. So you need to state that argument. You need to support that with some good ideas about what perspective they would have about the use and management of the area. Okay, let's now move down to number 6, current management strategies. A description of current management strategies at the site is required. You need a minimum of 5. This section must use a range of geographical tools. You must include photographs, so take a camera on the day or your phone and take photos of the management strategies, ones that you can put into your report. If not, you need to do some hand-drawn diagrams. So for example, if it's some signage, you could draw pictures of some signage, or you could draw some pictures of a boardwalk, for example. Something along those lines would be fine for a diagram. Okay. Do rough copies out in the field, and then do good copies when you get back to school. We might look at the marking criteria for that while we're at it. So there's your stakeholders, a mark for each one basically. Sorry, a mark for identifying it, giving perspective, and then giving the facilities that they would like to see included in the area. Okay, and then down here, current management strategy. So you've got to name the strategy. So for example, boardwalk, and then you've got to tell us basically, okay, for each of your management strategies, why was it required? Describe what it looks like through the use of a photo. Make an assessment of how good it is. Is it working? Is it not working? What is it supposed to achieve? How does it work? So for example, if it's a sign is designed to funnel people into a particular path down a track that's already made to reduce the impact on the surrounding environment. So say that, explain that. Do that for each of your management strategies. Make sure that you connect between what you're writing and the images you present. So for example, don't start writing about boardwalks and then present a picture of a lookout, because they're different things. If you download any images off the internet, you must acknowledge them and you must reference them. Marks are lost for every time you don't do this. Now, before we go on to future management strategies, I wish to show you another document that may help you. This one here. Management Strategies at Dolphin Cove. Download it. Okay, it looks like this when you have downloaded it. Okay, this is it. Here's a list of the different management strategies you'll find taking place down at Dolphin Cove. By all means, you can use this as a resource. Just acknowledge that it came from lumen10.wikispaces. And here are some ideas for some future strategies. So if you're somebody who has trouble identifying the future needs of the area, then maybe look at this list here. You'll have to elaborate on it. It wouldn't be good enough to simply say fence off gully. You need to explain what the fence would be made of, how long it would be, where it would be located, what it would achieve, etc. Maybe draw a map of the gully and show where the fencing would go. So use that as a resource. Now, the other resource I wish to show you that will help you with your management strategies is way down the bottom of this document. And it's this one here, Year 10 Coastal Management. .kmz, so it only opens in Google Earth. Download the app onto your iPad and then click download and then follow the prompts to get Google Earth running, and it will end up showing you something that looks like this. Okay, zoom in. Okay, I'm just going to show you quickly now that see all of these green arrows. If you click on a green arrow, if there's two there, it'll split them apart. Click on the green arrow again, and then you'll get something like this open up. There's some text kind of covering the management strategy as well as a photo. Once again, if you use this photo, you need to acknowledge where it came from. And again, you should be quoting lumen10.wikispaces.com. The author, which is Mr. Clayton, that's me, I made all of these resources, so for all of them you should quote me as the author. Okay, you can see there's lots of these green arrows. The other thing I'll just point out, just as a bit of a side note, I've drawn the creeks in blue here. So there's 2 creeks that merge and then flow out to sea here. And the green line shows the route from school. Okay. If I zoom right out, you can see that route goes all the way back to our school. So use this as a resource if you need. Particularly if you are somebody who didn't go on the field trip day out to Bourne, this resource will be very useful for you. Okay, let's go back to our task. Sorry, wrong one. This one here. So, future management strategies. You need at least 2. Your recommendation should contain proof that there is a current problem. A photo will show this perfectly. Okay? If you're trying to tell us that pest control needs to be implemented, you need photo evidence. Take a photo of like some rabbit poo, or if you can get a photo of a rabbit, even better. If you're doing fencing, get a photo that shows where the grass meets the bush and that there's no fence there. So get some proof. Show that there is a need for it. The section must, I'm reading from here, the section must use a range of geographical tools including photographs or hand-drawn diagrams and even a mud map of the gully itself. Okay, so make sure you do that. References, please reference correctly. As I've said, if you don't know how to do it, Google it. There's lots of information on the net that tells you how to reference material correctly. Many students just simply put a URL, www.something, but that's actually not correct. And when you get into your senior years, you will be expected to do it correctly, and even more so when you get to university if that's where you go. So, sources are needed on all photographs. All photographs must be labelled, e.g. Photograph showing stairs at Dolphin Cove would be a label that would be appropriate if you're going to include a reference. Alright, yeah, so nothing I've not mentioned here I don't think, but just in case you should read this part here. Okay, be careful not to plagiarise. This is a hard copy assessment task. Alright, when you hand it in, all I want to see is that you've got your pages in order and that you've stapled it in the left hand corner and submitted it. I don't want it submitted in any folders. I just want you to hand me the paper with a staple in the corner. Make sure your name is on it. Okay, I think that might be it on the task. Just quickly skip back to our marking criteria. Okay, as you can see, there are marks allocated for all parts of the task. If you forget a part, you're losing marks. If you skip just one part of this, you're losing marks. Okay, so make sure that you use this as a checklist. Tick them off as you've done them. Make sure it's done. Okay, that's how I would use this document. Print it off or put it in GoodNotes and work your way through and say, yep, done that, yep, done that, yep, done that. And if you've got any questions, you can contact your teacher. Pay attention to this. So quantity is important. If you've got 1, that's no good. If you've got 10, that's great. All listed are in text attached to images. So make sure that you are thorough with your referencing. Okay. They should be in alphabetical order, and that's by author, by the way. And they should be in the correct format. And generally speaking, the correct format is the author, followed by the year it was created or the year it was updated, followed by the title, okay, and if it's a book, you provide the publisher. That is the correct order. But, as I said, Google it to be sure. Okay, just go back to my Wikispaces page here, see if there's anything I've missed. Oh, one other thing. With your map of the region, I've provided a map. This one here, Dolphin Cove. Might be, is it one of these? Oh, here we go, North Tura. This is the map here. You could by all means trace the map and use that to form the basis of your own map. I don't mind if you do that. I probably would be a bit neater with the labelling of the different locations. But by all means go ahead and use that map if you're not very good at freehand drawing a map. Okay, I think that just about ends our video. So thank you for watching, and by all means enjoy, rate, give me a rate, like, I think they call it these days, give me a like and subscribe. Alright, tell your friends.